This program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
Be advised that the views and opinions of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
Naimbag garabi, masantos siya sa labid si kayo amin, maya pa bengi keka, marahin na banggi sa Indugabos, mayang gabi sa Tibok Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, up to Sabah. Ako po si Eric Espina at ito po ang inyong nag-iisang republika. Ito po sa buwan ng Agosto, papunta po sa Setyembre, ay kadalasang hudyat sa ating sandatahang lakas, lalo po partikular sa ating mga laangkawal, o sa Ingles sa ating mga reservist ng pagkakaroon ng kanilang pagdiriwang. At ito po ay pagkakataon nila upang paglinay-linayan o pagnilay-nilayan rather, mahirap talaga yung Bisaya, pagnilay-nilayan nila ang taong nagdaan at kung paano nila gugunitain ang kanilang mga aktibidades at mga paghahanda upang lalong mapagtibay at lalong maging malakas ang depensa ng ating mga laangkawal. Ano pong mga serbisyo ang kanilang mga inilalaan para sa ating mga mamamayan? Kaya po sa gabing ito ay marapat po naming tawagin ng ating programa ay AFP Reservist Family in Time or looking forward towards celebrating their anniversary. Tonight, we did invite the Deputy Chief of Staff for Reservist and Retiree Affairs, Rear Admiral Nebres, but on short notice, he was called to duty. So we also have, however, the Commander of the Army Reserve Command, Brigadier General Alexis Tamundong, and we also have, would you believe it, a reservist general, a volunteer reservist general in the person of Commodore Enrico Talon of the Civil Military Affairs Brigade, AFP Reserve Command. Good evening to both of you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay. Just to set the predicate of the discussion, and for those who still do not know, let's start off with this constitutional provision. Can we have this constitutional provision just in case the public does not know? Kung ano yung basehan ng sino ba ang mga matatawag nating AFP or who composes the AFP? So can we put the constitutional provision regarding who is the AFP? Pakilagay lang. Ilalagay natin yan. Yan. That's the 1987 Constitution, Article 16, General Provisions. Siguro, tanungin natin si General Tamundong, what does the Constitution actually mean when they say that the armed forces of the Philippines shall be composed? That's really mandatory. That the wording in legal parlance is mandatory. Shall be composed of a citizens' armed force which shall undergo military training and serve as may be provided by law. Kasi ang common concept ng mga pangkaraniwang tao, pag sinabing AFP, yung mga regular yan eh. Pero dito sa ating konstitusyon, sinasabi Citizens Armed Force. Ano ho ibig sabihin nun?
Ang ibig sabihin yan ay ang ating armed forces ay may dalawang component. Ang isa yung regular force. Ito yung karaniwan nating nakikita sa ating paligid, yung ating Armed Forces of the Philippines na nandito ngayon sa mga active duty. At saka yung reserve component. Ito yung tinatawag nating weekend soldiers na sila ngayon ang nag-complement sa ating regular component. But in times of emergency, maaari nating tawagin itong mga reserve component para maging part ng ating regular force.
Okay, tama po yun kasi balikan lang natin yung provision na yun. Doon sa second paragraph na hindi ko nabasa, ay nakalagay din po na it shall keep a regular force necessary for the security of the state. Dito po nahuhulog yung ating mga kapatid na regular force para sa ating AFP. So, malinaw po na dalawa po yung component ng ating Armed Forces of the Philippines. Baka lang po hindi kasi alam ng ating mga mamamayan, dalawa pala ang haligi ng ating sandatahang lakas. At ang malaking bahagi nito ay talagang naghihikayat ng mga mamamayang kawal na sumali sa ating Armed Forces of the Philippines. Commodore Talon, mga reservist lang ba or meron pa bang mga ibang mga tao ang dapat masama dito? Isasali ko lang yung pangalawang yung constitutional provision and then I will ask muna General Tamundong, ano ho ba ibig sabihin ng second sentence naman ng Declaration of Principles and State Policies? The government may call upon the people to defend the state in the fulfillment thereof. All citizens may be required under conditions by law to render personal, military, and civil service. Yung pong military, malinaw na po yun. Pag sinabi po yung personal at civil service, yun po ay hindi pa ho nahimay sa batas, ano?
Hindi pa masyado. But ito ngayon ang mga ano natin, yung mga ROTC na tinitrained ng ating gobyerno, mga estudyante natin sa colleges and universities na pwedeng maging part of the Citizens Armed Force. Ito ngayon ang immediate na pwedeng tawagin ng ating gobyerno pag kailangan. So, binamandato sa ating constitution na lahat ng tao as part of the total force ay dapat maging member nitong ating armed force in case of emergency. Lalo na itong mga kabataan natin at saka mga mamamayan na kaya pang magsilbi bilang part ng ating military organization.
Commodore Talon, how do you, in your own understanding, how do you understand render personal, civil service, and I don't know if there is a law that Congress has crafted, because I think this is one provision that has not been given much emphasis by our legislators, by which we should really try to emphasize that maybe we can come up with some kind of a law that will focus on personal and civil service. And I refer to, for example, the NSTP graduates. I don't know whether that's possible. What do you think?
Okay, for what I understand, with the AFP, it's supposed to consist of 20% the regular force and 80% the bulk of which will be in the reserve.
Okay.
And when you say personal service and then the civil service, being in the reserve, for example, I'm in the private sector.
Yes. What do you do on?
I'm actually the head of our private family-owned corporation.
Okay. Yes.
And then with the skills that I have
Yes.
running that corporation and the expertise of the corporation itself,
Uh,
we could render services to the government. Your expertise that you have, even if you talk about the architects, the lawyers, the engineers,
okay.
and the kind of expertise that they have, they would give as a reserve to the AFP.
Okay. Now, alam mo, pinakita ko lang yung second provision because siguro lang para mabigyan natin ng ng talagang pansin na baka ito dapat tutukan ng ating mga mambabatas, no? Kasi yung sayang yung personal at civil service eh. How can we harness when we talk about Citizens Armed Force, kasi reservist is one component, no? But when you talk about the Citizens Armed Force, how do you dovetail personal and civil service as part of the Citizens Armed Force concept, not only just the military part of the dimension. So baka yung NSTP ho, pwede nating gawa ng paraan na yung mga graduate ng NSTP, hindi lang ng ROTC, ay makasama natin sa Citizens Armed Force.
Actually, yung
Estado.
sa ating component ngayon ng NSTP,
Wala pa ho, ano?
meron tatlo tayong component sa National Service Training Program.
Oo.
Ang isa dyan yung ating ROTC,
Okay.
ang isa yung civil civil welfare service, at saka yung literacy service. So, itong dalawang component na ito, karamihan sa ating mga private colleges, universities, yun ang ina-avail nila. But we can actually harness them as a force multiplier.
Okay.
Part of the civilian sector, tinuturuan din sila doon sa kanilang mga subject na maging mag-service sa ating bayan. So not necessarily military, but they can be force multiplier. Pwede silang tumulong.
Pwede silang auxiliary.
Pwede silang auxiliaries, civilian auxiliaries to help in case meron tayong pangangailangan. For example, during peacetime, mga emergencies natin, mga disaster response, pwede rin silang i-harness ng ating government to help in rehabilitation.
Palagay ho ninyo, kailangan natin ng bagong batas para yung mga ganun, para mas lalong mahimay natin yung, lalo na yung mga architects, bagong mga graduate na architects, mga bagong nurses na ayaw magsuot ng military uniform, pero they are willing to render personal or civil service. Or yung mga engineers. Or
Sa ngayon, Eric,
Wala pa, no?
meron na tayo sa reservist natin ngayon, law. Kaya ngayong iba, we are trying to convince them, yung mga nire-recruit namin na maging reservist. And personally, they contributed so much yung mga kanilang sariling resources, tulad ni Commodore Talon, meron silang mga effort na they are also helping in the build-up of our reservist. Nakita ko doon sa Mindanao, yung ating mga naval at saka Air Force Reserve. They volunteer their own resources ng nakaraang response doon sa Typhoon Yolanda. Ginamit yung mga barko doon, ginamit yung mga kanilang mga eroplano para mag-move ng mga relief goods. So ito yung kailangan natin sa ating mga mamamayan, yung voluntary service na yan. Sa ngayon, hindi pa natin talaga nire-required as an organization. But doon sa reservist namin, advocacy, alam ng mga reservist natin yan that they have to volunteer their own resources at saka yung effort nila, personal effort, para makatulong sa ating armed forces.
right now, General Tamundong, our focus is more on for disaster preparedness, for helping siguro mga CVAC, mga welfare advocacies for our reservists. Pero do you see it down the line that eventually we really have to prepare our reservists or whatever we call it, the citizens armed force, in whatever components it will look like, to really go into some form of a national defense? And how do we prepare them for that? Paano ko kaya?
Sa ngayon kasi, ang concept natin yung total force, composed of the regular at saka reserve. Yung mga ginagawa natin ngayon na advocacy, ito yung nag-encourage doon sa mga ibang citizens natin na hindi pa nakakaalam na sumali as part of the reserve component. Kasi binibigyan namin sila ng training.
Okay.
So we provided them enough training, especially dito sa mga disaster management, rehabilitation, yung mga response. Marami kaming ganun, and we also tie up with our local government kasi part of the civil defense din yan yung
Disaster
local
preparedness.
yung disaster preparedness is actually the responsibility of local government units. But nagkaroon kami ng tie up, networking with other local governments, itong ating mga reservists, para pagdating sa disaster management, nandyan, partner sila. And malaking bagay kasi itong mga reservists natin, may training sila sa military, meron din silang training sa disaster management, sa preparedness. So they are more competent to react at nandyan agad sila. So nagagamit sila ng mga local government in case kailangan sila.
Two short questions, and then I will leave you with these two short questions for both of you. And then we'll pause for a break. What is the profile of a reservist? What is the incentive for them to join? I mean, you are there. You see all sorts of characters and personalities. What is the common feature, if I might use that word, that makes them join and want to be a reservist? And I'll also ask that of you, Commodore Talon. Bakit sila sumasali sa pagbabalik po ng Republika?